Agenda 2030 je jedan sveobuhvatan plan za totalnu transformaciju našeg društva, čovječanstva kakvog mi poznajemo. Ljudi zapravo ne znaju detaljno o toj agendi, premda im vjerojatno zvoni onako u ušima, zato što se stalno mijenjao taj nekakav naziv, a ovaj naziv Agenda 2030 je usvojen 2015. godine i odnosi se na period od 2015. godine do 2030. godine. S tim što nije to osnivanje Agende 2030, ona je zapravo nastavak Agende 21, koja je osnovana, odnosno koja je svijetu obznanjena u Riju 1992. godine. Znači, ta Agenda 21 je zapravo samo jedna niža razina, nešto manje ciljeva nego što je u ovoj Agendi 2030. Međutim, Agenda 2030 je zapravo povezana sa Great Resetom i sa novim svjetskim poretkom, sa 4. industrijskom revolucijom i sa svim ovim što se nama sad događa. I zapravo mi se nalazimo u vrtlogu promjena na svakoj razini, ekonomskoj, socijalnoj, društvenoj, vjerskoj. Svaki aspekt života je obuhvaćen s ovom Agendom 2030 i sa svim ovim popratnim, odnosno tim planovima koji su zapravo vuku svoje korijenje već 50. godina, pa možemo malo i o tome.
So this is happening, folks. We are witnessing the implementation of these smart cities that are going to merge and mesh with our smart devices and our smart appliances and our personal devices and the Internet of Things. And then what we'll be left with is an Orwellian nightmare, the likes of which George Orwell himself couldn't have possibly imagined. But this didn't just pop up out of nowhere. In fact, it's been in the works for quite some time. And I have traced it all the way back to its roots, to where this all began and to who is going to be in charge moving forward, and that is the United Nations. The United Nations Conference on Environment and Development in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, which was held from June 3rd to June 14th in 1992, produced a non-binding action plan to the United Nations with regard to sustainable development called Agenda 21, which essentially acts as a blueprint to inventory and control all land, all water, minerals, plants, and animals for total control over all of our food, all our resources, and all matter, to globalize, monitor, and regulate every single aspect of our lives. Actually, a lot has happened since 1992, and the UN has already revised their plan with a target date in mind. So the plan is now referred to as Agenda 2030. This from UN.org, Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We reaffirm our strong commitment to the full implementation of this new agenda. We recognize that we will not be able to achieve our ambitious goals and targets without a revitalized and enhanced global partnership and comparably ambitious means of implementation. The revitalized global partnership will facilitate an intensive global engagement in support of implementation of all the goals and targets, bringing together governments, civil society, the private sector, and the United Nations system and other actors, and mobilizing all available resources.
This essay that they published that remains on their website to this very day, it's written by Ida Auken, World Economic Forum thinker and politician. I'm going to read it to you. Welcome to the year 2030. Welcome to my city, or should I say, our city. I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or any clothes. First, communication became digitized and free to everyone. Huh? You think it's free? Sure, it's free, like Facebook is free. But how can Facebook be worth close to $1 trillion in market capitalization if it's free? How can Gmail be free if Google is worth more than $1 trillion? Well, because when you use free Facebook and free Twitter and free YouTube and free email, don't you know that that's because you are what is being bought and sold? You, your eyes, your ears, what you've seen and heard, what will be shown to you, what will be told to you. And more valuable than any of that, everything about you, your likes and dislikes, your history, your emotions and your moods, all of that will be owned by someone. You may be foolish enough to think that no one owns anything, but that's just you who thinks that. Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, they've never been worth more. They've never owned more.
UN je jedna svjetska organizacija koja je nastala nakon Drugog svjetskog rata i u početku je ona bila predstavljena da će se zapravo zalagati za mir u svijetu, da svi narodi budu ravnopravni, pitanje samoodređenja, uglavnom pozitivne stvari, ali ipak UN je bila ta organizacija Ujedinjenih naroda je bila internacionalna i to se njima jako sviđalo. U međuvremenu su osnovane još druge organizacije, to su sve neki privatni klubovi, 54. godine već Bilderberg klub, onda 68. godine Rimski klub, kasnije je osnovan 71. godine i Svjetski ekonomski forum, a zapravo zajednički nazivnik svih tih organizacija je isti, a to je novi svjetski poredak i promjena društva tako da se smanji broj stanovnika, da se zapravo usmjeri to bogatstvo još više k njima. 70. godina su neki od njih bili povezani sa kineskom vlašću, jer u to vrijeme Amerika nije poslovno, gospodarski surađivala sa Kinom, ali oni su to nešto ovako privatno, pa se njima dopao taj komunizam, isto taj način upravljanja. Tako da je to sve išlo prema ovom jednom trenutku, organiziranju i usmjeravanju i zapravo smo došli sad do 2024. godine kad smo mi u žiži toga. Premda ljudi ne znaju o čemu se radi. Neće, kažu, ostati netaknut niti kamen na kamenu.
We look at what was evidenced in the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars document, and it told us a long time ago that until such energy dominance is absolutely established, the consent of the people to labor and let others handle their affairs must be taken into consideration, since failure to do so could cause the people to interfere in the final transfer of energy sources to the control of the elite. Now, I won't deviate much at this moment, but other than to say that a massive retrofitting plan is underway to require that we all retrofit our homes to meet the UN Agenda 21 sustainability requirements. And it's important to know that what the real use of energy is really all about. It's aiming for zero. And we located this on the U.S. Department of Energy website some years ago. You can find this for yourself also because we feature it in the 5-part video YouTube series that is up on Stop the Crime, entitled Genocide is Legal, and this is how it happened. And what is important to understand is sustainability is not the same thing as zero energy. There is no such thing as zero energy. Energy does not exist in a vacuum. It always comes from somewhere and goes somewhere. We're all energy. Everything is energy. This is the ultimate goal, and they're aiming for zero, to not use energy. The most efficient energy is energy we do not generate. This is not a technology. It is a behavior modification, or learning to live in a new reality. Now, we talk about in the 5-part video YouTube series the plan for all industrialized nations to literally go back to the year 1750 before we had equipment or machinery. This is pre-industrial times, and that is where we are being directed. They say that increase renewable energy use. That is why we're being electrified, because the use of electricity for fueling our vehicles can certainly be a product or a fuel that can be based on solar, be based on geothermal, on wind, and or wave. Wave is in the ocean. But they're telling us that they want to switch equipment from fossil fuel to electricity, reduce travel demand through focused growth. And we've talked about that. I have a YouTube up, Kill Cities by Rothschild and Rockefeller. We talk about the smart cities in many of the videos that you will find on stopthecrime.net. We are being encouraged to shift to a low-carbon transportation option, and our way of life will no longer be our way of life. We are being pushed into a control grid of monumental proportions. Why the utilities will control all travel through the electric smart grid and the charging stations. This will add increased frequencies and further electrify our environment for mind control. Is going to be controlled by electricity. All transportation, all travel by your utility companies, aka the World Bank.
For a while, everything was turned into entertainment, and people did not want to bother themselves with difficult issues. It was only at the last minute that we found out how to use all these new technologies for better purposes than just killing time. Really, but the World Economic Forum doesn't actually tell us what those purposes are or how they will work or what was necessary. Maybe they're talking about this bizarre ant colony life, or maybe they're talking about, I don't know, just going to throw it out there, communism. That's, I think, the closest thing we've heard described so far. But let me show you the dark side here, and this is the World Economic Forum. Near the end, they say this: once in a while, I get annoyed about the fact that I have no real privacy, nowhere I can go and not be registered. I know that somewhere, everything I do, think, and dream of is recorded. I just hope that nobody will use it against me. All in all, it's a good life. I swear that is their definition of the good life. I swear I'm not making this up. Google it for yourself. Let me read the ending. All in all, it's a good life, much better than the path we were on. Really. Where it became so clear that we could not continue with the same model of growth. We had all these terrible things happening: lifestyle diseases, climate change, the refugee crisis, environmental degradation, completely congested cities, water pollution, air pollution, social unrest and unemployment. We lost way too many people before we realized that we could do things different. What do you mean we lost people? Is this some after the revolution talk now? What are you talking about?
First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
So who wrote this NASA document, and was this intentional? Did they want the public to see this, do you think? Or?
Well, again, the Illuminati, the most wealthy, rich men on the face of the planet, always telegraph everything that they're going to do. So the fact that it was on the NASA website, it was certainly available to the public, but did they see it? Obviously not. Because had they looked at this document, you would know about it right now, and we don't. And that's the purpose of this discussion, is for people to know about this document.
Very similar to The Matrix, which was based on a DARPA document. I mean, it is similar, isn't it? It's problem, reaction, solution, the same way they always operate. So I guess the best thing to do is wake everyone up and hope that a grassroots movement can change it. Do you think revolution would be necessary at some point, or could it change without that? What do you think?
Well, I think we need a revelation, not a revolution. A revolution would only bring in martial law, in the opinion of what we are looking at, would bring in martial law. It would also allow people to be targeted with the weaponry that they cannot wait to roll out on us. You add the drones, you add the microdust, you add in the beam weapons that they tell us they have. They also have a blast wave accelerator. And when you look at the population of the United States, the majority of the population lives along the coastlines. And the blast wave accelerator was a tidal wave invention that the United States dreamt up with the Soviet Union back in the 40s. Actually, it was going to be used in World War II instead of the bombs, but they decided to use the bombs instead. And the blast wave accelerator exploits the methane deposits on the seabed and causes a fingerprintless, plumeless tidal wave on low-lying areas around the perimeter of any country.
Right now you've got your weaponized Gestapo meter that keeps track of every house and every movement and every bit of energy that you're already doing and can report back to whoever is observing. So we're virtually in a concentration camp right now.
Yes,
in the
we
meantime, the food supplies are being reduced. As you're mentioning in your other interview, how the dams are being taken out and the food. I mean, it's so obvious that the federal government coming in and wanting your child even at earlier and earlier ages, every place, everywhere, and it's based on the foundation of climate change, which you mentioned you might want to get into that and your Iron Mountain.
That's absolutely true. All the documents, the Iron Mountain document, even the NASA war document, talks about there are too many people using too much stuff, and the Earth cannot support this. And they've come up with the fear-based, scientific, fraudulent information that people are now accepting. They're rewriting history and they're rewriting science with the idea that people are using too much resources. We have to reduce CO2 and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And that is flying through every city across the world right now. It's written into all local government documents, and cities now are, well, California, for example, with the CARB initiative, where we have to actually pay for the air we breathe, and we're taxed for the air. It's like the fiat money. We've accepted false-backed money, which they tell us in the Iron document, or in the silent weapons document, one of the reasons that they send our men and women off to war is to reduce the population because they have stolen from them. They've taken real labor service in exchange for illegitimate false fiat money. So they have to eliminate the creditors. That's another aspect of war, is to reduce the creditors. But it's all based on the false pollution that is not false. They've created the pollution. When you look at the Iron Mountain document, you will see the methods in which they were going to create pollution. They even say that they will deforest us, and they're doing that with the chemtrail, the secret chemtrail or geoengineering program or weather modification. Actually, that program has multiple layers. Not only does it increase weather events, we've just experienced some horrific events here in the United States with massive tornadoes that just destroyed a number of cities in Oklahoma. We're being hit globally. They're hitting our food supply. It does reduce our food supply. It will increase the cost of our food. It's changing the pH in the soil, which will then fit to the prescribed Monsanto mega corporation food takeover of the globe. That is the intention of Monsanto, is global food domination. They have the seeds. The seeds will grow in the polluted soil that they are creating. This is all by design. So what do we do about this, you asked? We first must become educated. And I would say that the quickest way for people to become educated is look at these very simple source documents. Look at the Quiet Weapons Silent War document. Look at the Iron Mountain document and the New World Order Exposed, 1969. They're all on our website, stopthecrime.net. Of all the research we have done, if you just get those basic documents understood, if everyone understands the fraud, then we will be able to eliminate this. We don't have to go on with this fraud. We do not. And people keep saying, well, there's more of us than them. Well, that may be true. But sadly, now, there are technologies that are so unbelievable that people won't even realize what hit them. And that is the strategy of the future wars and the wars that we're facing in our country. But I would say everyone needs to look at the NASA document. You need to move from the illusion, the non-reality that you are living in. You need to move into a new reality formed by the truths that these documents convey. So that then from those realities, then you can look at solutions. You can't shoot from the hip and look for solutions if you have not learned who's doing this to us, how they're doing this to us, and the documents that tell us how they are doing this to us.
Like the Truman Show, which was designed to create a false reality for entertainment, the false reality we have now is designed to kill us. This is a war against the people. This is why that tabloid came out, Prepare to Die. And they're doing it in so many deliberate ways in which those documents show that it's been in the works for a long time. And you not only see the individuals, which can be kind of identified with the Bilderbergers, the Trilats, and Skull and Bones. They are in the saddle. They are the ones determining policy, the scientific advisor to the president of the John P. Holdren in charge of the chemtrails. We have MITRE with the former head of the CIA directing all these branches of government. We've got guys like Leon Panetta, which is the head of the CIA and the Department of Defense, moving our armies over to NATO and moving without a constitution. This is a direct war against us, and we see people dying like flies now. And like you said, it doesn't have fingerprints on it because of the methods that they're using, but it's as real as people getting strokes and cancer and autism and Alzheimer's. It's so clear. I mean, the stats, the mathematics prove the point. And so they have to know, people have to know what's going on and to strategize to fight it. And they can, because the only way they're getting away with this is by the lies. And if you succumb to the mass media, the three networks and the two wire services, you're never going to get out of it.